Okay, hello everybody. This is the video you were not waiting for, probably most of you. But I thought this might be interesting. So what we have here is two of the recent force feedback joysticks. And I'm kind of happy to see that they are not fighting each other. Maybe they are leaving it for the users to go flame each other. But these seem to be getting along quite well. So, well, I don't know what would happen if Mosa and this thing here would meet each other. But I have no experience on the Mosa or any of the others, so I can't compare those. But I can now compare these two a little bit. So what we have here is the VP Force Rhino, and this is the FF Beast by GVL224. And well, I've had the Rhino for 3 years now. It's one of my favorite objects ever in my like 30 or 40 years of computer hardware. It's been fantastic for the 3 years and reliable. I was kind of skeptical about the construction, 3D printing, and well, I know the wood wouldn't be a problem, but it has held up completely perfectly. And the only maintenance I ever did was I had to tighten a screw that holds the gimbal together this way. It was kind of annoying, but not hard or difficult at all. And I did that just once. And well, what can I say? I've read a lot about stuff about this being wood and this being metal, and yeah, that's true. But if you know anything about aviation history, you may have heard about some wooden wonders, and I wouldn't downplay this based on the construction at all. It does its job fine. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the Rhino. Like I said, I've loved this for 3 years and I still do. That's not going to change. So here's the new one, the FF Beast. Now that's kind of interesting. There are several differences between these two. This being metal and that being wood, well, doesn't really matter at all. But this has been built to take massive amount of force. And it kind of does. So I've set these two up so that they are kind of in comparable settings. That's around 3 kilos or a bit less, and so is this. But I put some extra on the aileron axis, and this is much more already. So I'm not going to go too ham on this plastic joystick, but that's a lot of force right there. And that's obviously the thing that the Beast does. Now, when I gave this about similar amount of force, I'm actually using 100% for the FF Beast main. What do they call this? Power limit. So there is no artificial limit on its power, and then I'm using 10% of the spring force, and that's about the same as this one. However, I haven't tested this properly at all. It has never been installed in my cockpit yet, so I don't even know if that 100% of power limit is possible. It might not be. But the thing is, there's absolutely no doubt about it that this beast, it's incredibly strong, and it's much stronger than the Rhino. That's for sure. And I am kind of stickler for strength. You might see my huge muscles bulging. So I like really strong stuff, and I'm looking forward to experiencing like close to or realistic forces that, for example, real fighter jets have. Now, not that that's going to be interesting as an experience, but I'm not saying that it's necessarily the way to go, even if you can have as much force as a real F-18, but well, my cockpit doesn't do 9G, so I don't need that much force. It's probably completely excessive. But anyway, they should be able to give more than the Rhino, and I'd like to have more. Maybe not that much more, but more. We'll have to see. It's going to be an interesting experiment. I can't know that yet. But I really want to know where I actually land when it comes to my preferred amount of force. And of course, when we are talking about the difference in force, this is like knots. That's crazy amount of power, especially in this short stick. But the Rhino is no slouch. So people say that the Beast is a lot stronger than the Rhino. Well, obviously they are correct, it is. But if you're comparing to most of the springs and gimbal stuff out there, that's going to blow them out of the water. I think the Rhino claims to be 9 Newton meters, and unless I'm not mistaken, this is 45, so it's a lot more. But that 9 is not nothing. I don't know what the spring and gimbal stuff usually does, maybe 2 or 3. But it's a lot less than this. So it's no slouch, absolutely not. So yeah, my force setup right now is that this is comparable to the Rhino, it's about 10% of the force, and this is 50. Yeah, I'm not going to start playing with that too much. But anyway, and I don't know if I even should be talking about this at the moment, but because I haven't done any real experimenting with that Beast yet. But just judging them side by side, the Rhino is all in all a fantastically smooth operating stick. I don't think I've ever had a stick that this smooth, and I've tried most of the spring and gimbal ones. The even strain Cougar is pretty similar, but it's basically just springs and a free-floating gimbal. So that's about as perfect in smoothness as you can get, and I can't find a difference between this and that. This is phenomenal. Like, I can go try to hunt for the tiniest bumps or anything here, and I struggle to find any. And I remind you right now that I'm super sensitive to this stuff. And this is why you want force feedback. I think that's like the most important reason. You can get, first of all, fantastic feeling gimbals, and then fantastic dampening. And one of the things I'm completely allergic to is stiction. And of course, force feedback doesn't really give you any stiction at all. And I have little experience with the Nyogel stuff, but I never found a regular gimbal that gave me that nice, completely stiction-free feel. They can be pretty good, but nothing like force feedback, at least as far as I have experienced. But if you compare this to the Rhino, it's, again, this is really nice and smooth. But if you really go hunting, and this is similar to my pedals that I've had for over a year now, if you really go hunting for it, you can feel like the waviness of the response. Okay, now it's kind of, yeah, now I can find it, yeah. But as you can see, it's really good here too. And interestingly enough, and this is another reason why I shouldn't probably even talk about this yet. But when I increase the force, I no longer find any trace of it. But of course, as you can see, my setup is totally screwed up. There's no way to properly test this, so take it with a lot of salt. But yeah, I can feel the waviness slightly in here when the force is really low, just like with the pedals. But it's completely gone with more force. But as I said, I don't know. This is a really bad test, and I don't know anything about the beast settings, so I might have something screwed up. Except of course GVL did the settings for me, so maybe they're okay. So I suggest you forget that for now. The only takeaway here is that I know that Rhino is super magnificently smooth from 3 years of using it. It's amazing, and this feels really good too, and nigh on perfect with a lot of force. So far, I don't know. Anyway, one of the things to note is that the Rhino has this big red button here, and well, it also does have one potentiometer here for whatever you need it for, but this big red button is kind of nice. You slam that down and all the forces go off. So that's if the Rhino starts to play whack-fuck with you, then you can basically stop that. And I've had that happen once for me. Somebody programmed a really brain-dead stupid program into this, and the settings were completely wrong. I mean wrong as in inverted forces. And it smashed itself basically into pieces. This VKP adapter broke. But other than that, everything was fine. And since then, these later adapters are a bit stronger. I noticed that when I told Valmis that the adapter broke when I played Whackfuck, the next one he sent was a lot stronger, or at least a little stronger. I'm not sure about that actually, because that was a catastrophic event, and if something catastrophic like that happens, this is exactly what you want to break, rather than anything else like the mechanics here or the stick. It's just the perfect thing to have this as the forced breaking point. But that was kind of completely my fault, so no fault of the Rhino. Just another reminder that when people talk about force, and yes, the Beast is much stronger, the Rhino is also a really powerful device. And this thing doesn't come with a big red button on the stick, but there is one on the power source. So I have to think about how to mount that. Preferably somewhere where I can hit that button if things go badly wrong. And another major difference between these two is the Rhino has some interesting electronics in it. It measures its temperature all the time. It has obnoxiously loud fans that kick in when the stick starts or the system starts overheating. Now, yeah, of course you don't want stuff to start making noise and overheating and reducing the forces, but that's a really good fallback to have. And it's like totally not jarring at all. It very slowly reduces the force to up to 50, at which point it will maintain the equilibrium unless you are in a sauna or something. And yes, you notice that the stick is lighter, but it doesn't like snatch at all. It just slowly and gradually reduces the force. And that's actually great for testing because I can watch the temperatures and see what the stick does, so I know when I have a result. So if you follow this channel for a while, you probably run into my Rhino testing. I flew a lot of DCS and saw what happened. And like I said, it's really nice to know when you have a result in your testing. Now this thing, however, as far as I know, it has no temperature measurement or any kind of protections. It basically just says, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. Okay, fair enough. And yeah, it does sound reasonable when you have this much force. But yeah, that remains to be seen. I will be testing this pretty hard. I might not go apeshit crazy with this, because like I said, I have a really short stick here, and due to how torque works, it could be crazy. But yeah, we'll have to see when I get this installed in my cockpit. But again, yeah, I don't know. I would like to have some kind of temperature monitoring. I would like to have some fallbacks. Well, the power source is going to have some fallbacks, but I don't know, maybe if that is the first point of failure, then fine. Okay, the power source will protect this, but I don't know about that at all. And okay, here's an important point. And okay, imagine that this is the first sentence in the video. Like I mentioned, this FF Beast was created by GVL224. He has also built my pedals, and this feels excellent build, and the pedals have been really great for a long time. So he's done a good job so far. But when I'm talking about the Rhino, that is basically the Rhino. It's an older model, it's like 30 something serial number, but it's still the Rhino. It's pretty much the same. When you order Rhino, you get a Rhino. Now both of these are do-it-yourself projects also, but that is the Rhino. However, there really kind of isn't the FF Beast. And this is GVL224's version of the FF Beast. And you might find some with very different motors, completely different mechanics. And I've seen a lot of different kind of Rhinos being built, but there's like 3 different kind of motors you can use. On this, however, you can use pretty much anything. Well, not anything, but very different kind of motors, a huge variety of power and so on. So this is a representative of the FF Beast ecosystem, and I think it's probably a good representative, but it's not the beast. And I've been following both communities for a while now, and I have found that at least one dude managed to somehow, well, not blow up, but melt down his steering wheel stuff by using too much force. So I guess there's that risk, and I'm willing to take it for the testing. I really want to see what this can do. So what else? Well, the thing is, I don't have much else to say because I haven't tested this properly. It's never been installed into my cockpit yet, so I'm just playing around with it. As for the Rhino, it has been absolutely incredible for the last 3 years and continues to be so. And yeah, I think next I'm going to start installing this thing into my cockpit, and then I need to wait until I get an adapter for this. This is just a plastic Virpil stick here for testing. and I'm never going to run this with full force or even high forces. So I've ordered an adapter. It's not here yet, but it should work with the VKB stick, and it's proper metal and screws all the way through. Okay, one thing to end this video. I know that I'm not the only one who absolutely drools after all the power on the FFPs, but you have to understand what all that talk means. Well, torque is basically a measure of distance and force, or force at a distance. So if you have 45 Newton meters, it means that at a distance of 1 meter, or if you are imperial, it's like 1/15th of a whale dick or something. But at the distance of 1 meter, you have force of 45 newtons, which is roughly 4.5 kilos, like 8 elephant farts if you use imperial. And it increases linearly. So at half a meter, 50 centimeters, you have twice the amount of power, that would be 90 or 9 kilos. At 25 centimeters, this is actually close to, it's going to be 4 times the power, which is a metric fuck ton of power, or if you are imperial, it's an imperial fuck ton of power. It's kind of scary actually, a little bit, but yeah, who needs their stuff anyway? So the point I'm making is that these sticks were made for basically spring and cam sticks, or bases, and those have minuscule amount of force compared to either of these. And of course, when engineers build something, they don't massively overbuild their stuff for no good reason. It's expensive and doesn't serve any real purpose. So these would have to be engineered for tens of times the kind of power they were intended for, to take this stress. And they probably haven't been. And even if stuff like this, or especially on thrustmasters, this kind of massive constructions on the connector, they look really sturdy, but especially on thrustmaster, and I've broken one of those. The axial stress goes through a tiny pipe, like a very small thin-walled metal tube, and it can't take like any kind of stress. I don't know what it's like on a Virbil. I haven't broken any of these. On a VKB, it's kind of pathetic. Most of the structure is very sturdy, but it all comes down to the connector's really small metal knob. I could show you, well, I'll show you later. But the thing to consider is that this power comes at a cost. Now, obviously, neither of these is cheap, but the cost is that you have to figure out a way to really connect this. And for me, it is because I want to use the VKB stick. I need a special adapter for that. And I'm still waiting on one. And I'll probably show it to you when it arrives. But if you really want to go for this, you have to really think about the connection also. It's not trivial. And of course, if you install it like I do, because I have very heavy constraints vertically, I need to get this stick as low as possible. Then you have to understand that if you pull like 10 kilos of force, and the distance to your hand is about twice the distance to this part takes twice that amount of force. And ideally you will be using some kind of a really strong extension, so that the stick's own connector is much higher up, and taking much less force proportionally. But I won't be, because I'm stupid, so it's going to be interesting to see. But I promise you, I won't be doing full power testing with these. But yeah, there you go, the Rhino and the Beast. And I suppose here I go to my cockpit to do some works. Maybe see you later, hopefully.